If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your Jiu-Jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armand Fadi, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there are so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you have come to expect. Today's guest joins us to discuss the impact her success has had on others, her roller coaster ride as a brown belt, and her recent win at ADCC. Here is the RŌL Radio with black belt under David Hart at Team Dominance MMA and IBJJF World Gi and NOGI champion and two-time ADCC champion, Adele Fornarino.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we're live. Adele, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very, very well. Very good.
I would hope you are very well. Seems like you had a pretty good weekend a couple weekends ago, you know?
Yeah, to be honest, it's still all sinking in. It still feels a little bit crazy. Still feels a little bit surreal, but no, I'm definitely on cloud nine at the moment.
I would imagine so. I mean, it has to feel simply mind-blowing to do what you've done. I mean, many chase victories, many chase success, but not many are able to accomplish that, especially in the style that you have done it at ADCC just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it was a really long time in the making, and there was a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of like sacrifice went into it. And by the time I got there, I could taste it. I was eager to get it. And then on top of that, like the absolute to me was just was a bonus. It was something that we didn't necessarily plan for. It wasn't our main focus, but I through the training camp was just kind of prepared for anything.
I gotta ask you, I mean, like, I'm listening to you right now, and this is just minute one of this episode, this conversation, but like you say, I didn't plan this kind of just kind of happened. First, for real, I mean, like, you first of all, open class, you win with such a phenomenal way. But it's not only that, it's who you beat. I mean, Bianca is essentially one of almost a goat. Or if she's not you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I like the division was all planned. Like everything in the division was planned out to an absolute T. It was, the strategies were there, and we were ready for however the bracket worked out, because there was a bunch of amazing competitors in that 55 division that I would be really excited to have a match with. The absolute though, that was I think just what the accumulation of all the training and the hard work, like what that actually allowed me to achieve physically, mentally, and it was a bonus. It was kind of an extra little thing. I was sitting backstage just before I went out looking at my coach, and we just kind of had this moment where we laughed and we're like, what are we doing here? Like, how did we end up in the absolute finals at ADCC? You know, we would have just been happy with a divisional win, but now we're just kind of getting greedy here.
Are you so like that moment right there? You sitting waiting, and many consider that moment being the worst part of the competition when the adrenaline didn't kick in yet, and you kind of in the waiting stage, and you like look at each other. Are you sinking in what's really happening right now? Are you sinking in like this is the best of the best of the best, and you kind of there, and you really didn't plan for this?
Yeah, it definitely felt very, very surreal. It was hard to make sense of what was actually going on. It felt like a dream, and even afterwards felt like a dream, felt like something that didn't actually happen, and I'd wake up in the morning kind of second guessing whether it happened. But definitely being backstage, you know, they line us up where your competitor goes out and runs through the fireworks and gets introduced and all that kind of stuff, and then you're behind them and you do the same thing. And like having that moment of standing behind Mesquita, who is like her accolades are just endless of all the things that she's achieved in this sport, and will most likely continue to achieve, not only in jiu-jitsu, but obviously she's moving into her MMA career. Like it's endless. I'm looking at the lady goat. I'm looking at somebody that has been doing this for years and years and years. And I had that moment of like, what am I doing? Like how did I get here? Okay, I'm just going to go out there and just do what I can and try my best to get the job done right now. And I think it just went from like those nerves start to creep in, and that feeling of like that feeling of just not making sense of what's happening very quickly when you walk out there turns into just full focus and, you know, commitment and okay, I'm here to get the job done.
And we'll talk about more what it took to get to that point. But walk me through that moment when they call your name. You're walking out right before that final. And so, you're just walking down and you're stepping on that mat. Like, what is going in your mind? Is anything going through your mind? Or like, walk me through the emotions.
So I think like when they call your name, there's so many external things going on. You're backstage, and there's a whole bunch of staff backstage that are ushering you in certain directions and asking you to wait and giving you instructions. So part of your job is to like take all that information in and, you know, be able to do what you're told. Essentially, if somebody says be here at this time in this position, you got to be there at this time in this position. And in the finals, especially, they're giving you instructions because when they call you out, there's fireworks and there's fire on the stage, and they're like, you need to wait at this mark because there's going to be fire that shoots across the stage, so don't light yourself on fire. And there's like this is extra little bit of input coming in, and you're like, okay, I need to focus and like make sure that I'm ready for this like high intensity grappling match where I need to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes, and, you know, listening to my coach and fully aware of that, and also don't get lit on fire. Like, don't walk through the sparklers because it's really dangerous.
Well, that would be embarrassing, like, wouldn't
it? Be a very short-lived match, that's for sure. I don't know. For me, I like there's this fine balance for me of being really aware of my surroundings, like very much in the moment. So I don't actually listen to too much music backstage because I do like to hear what's around me. I don't like that jarring effect of listening to music with surround sound headphones and then taking that off and all of a sudden like there's all this new input coming in. For me, like I'll absorb that before I get out there. I do like to enjoy the crowd when I'm going out there. So like, you know, raising hands, waving at everybody, like that kind of stuff. I do use that as a tool to get me a little bit hyped up. And then as soon as I'm walking to the mats, that's when everything just kind of like gets very dim around me and everything is full focus on what's in front of me. So at that stage when I'm by the mats and when I'm saying my last kind of back and forth with my coaches and you know, they're wishing me luck and they're getting me ready out there, as soon as that happens, like it's almost like I can't see the audience in the crowd. It's almost like nothing else is really coming in. It's just a full focus on who's stepping in front of me.
Well, what an amazing moment. And hearing you go through this emotional roller coaster and control of the emotions, I mean, it's quite remarkable, one, what you've done, and plus how you handled the whole situation. You mentioned something really important. This was a long time in making. And I think this is where a lot of spectators and competitors and even fans don't realize that this is not just, I woke up yesterday and let's do this. Not only it takes years to develop a skill, but also takes a long time of preparation. And today I want to dig into some of that with you, because I think many don't realize, even those who are ranked as black belts or they have decades of experience, they don't know what it takes to be on that stage. Why jiu-jitsu? Let's go back. Let's go all the way to the beginning. Why jiu-jitsu? Why not swimming or checkers or, I don't know, running, tennis? I mean, you could pick anything, and you pick jiu-jitsu?
Definitely not running. So for me, definitely not running. I could not think of anything worse.
No, you can't run
than running a marathon.
No,
God, no. I do jiu-jitsu, so I don't need to run. So if I'm in a situation where it's fight flight, then I can fight. I don't need to run. I don't need to fight.
I see.
That's why. But no, for me, like the stars just aligned on it. Nobody in my family ever did jiu-jitsu or martial arts for that matter. Nobody that I knew ever did martial arts. When I was about 10 years old, I wanted to be a police officer, and I decided that a martial art would help in that, help in my career later on down the track. If I started really young, then by the time I was a little bit older and I was really proficient in a martial art, then I could fight off bad guys. That was kind of the initial entry. And
you had a plan.
Jiu-jitsu, like a jiu-jitsu gym, I had a plan. I was going to be the best police officer that ever existed. I was motivated. I was, destined to be, jumping out of helicopters and, fighting all the bad guys. And jiu-jitsu just happened to be the closest gym. Like I Googled martial arts close to me, and a jiu-jitsu gym, which was Dominance MMA, and the kids program was run by a guy called David Christopher at the time. It just happened to be that was the closest place to me, and it happened to be that the kids coach was running an amazing program, very engaging. Like I had a lot of time, I had a lot of fun there while I was training. So everything just worked out nicely, and then I got obsessed with it. Really enjoyed competing.
How old are you at that point?
I'm 24.
No. At that point.
10 at the time. So I was 10.
10.
Yeah, 10 years old. I started when I was about 10 years old.
So you Google this.
I was a motivated 10-year-old.
Clearly. So you walk into the jiu-jitsu class as a young girl, because 10 years old, right? So what's your perception? Do you know what jiu-jitsu is at that point? Do you realize what you're going to do? Like, no, you just want to fight.
I didn't have a clue what was going on. Like for me, I was young, I was 10, and I was a small 10-year-old too. I'm 5'3" now. So I was little. I was a little 10-year-old. Very competitive. I'd always done sports growing up. So I'd done Australia rules, like football. I'd done soccer. I'd done tennis. I had done swimming. So I'd done all these sports and been quite competitive, and then walked into a jiu-jitsu gym, got to try on my first gi, which I thought was the coolest thing ever, like tying my belt. I thought like the novelty of that was super exciting. And then noticed pretty quickly, I was the only girl on the mats, so there was a little bit of motivation to just like beat up all the boys. Like I wanted to bash up all these boys because, that was just the competitive nature of me. But I was also that kid that was like, I did not understand jiu-jitsu at the start. I did not understand the concept behind jiu-jitsu. I was constantly asking my coach, okay, cool, this grappling thing, really cool, arm bars, really cool. When are we going to start punching things? Like, when are we going to start getting the pads out and start hitting things? And it took him like a lot of times to be like, well, that's not really this kind of martial art. We don't really do that stuff. We do this. I'm like, yeah, cool. But when are we going to start punching things? And it took such a long time for me to realize that we were not going to be hitting anything.
What is it about punching that you want to do so badly?
I don't know, get out some of that pent up anger that's in me. I don't know.
Are
I
you
thought
angry?
that at that point in my, I don't know, maybe at the time I was probably an angry 10-year-old. But I think it was just any perception that I had of martial arts, like externally from movies and all that kind of stuff, kicking, punching, knife fighting, all that kind of stuff was really big in that time. In all the action movies. So I think that's where it was coming from. That was my perception of what actual fighting was, but it's not. It's just not the reality of things.
At which point this 10-year-old girl takes this grappling into a serious consideration?
When I was 16, I competed in my first major international competition, and I was able to compete in that off the back end of a local competition where the winner of that division gets a ticket to go to IBJJF GI Worlds.
Okay.
So I won the local competition and then got the ticket, plane ticket, the registration fees to go into this competition. My mum came with me. And I think that was my first exposure to how big jiu-jitsu was outside of Australia, how many people did it. You know, I got to see some of these incredible athletes. You know, the one that stood out that year that I went was I got to see Bruno Marfusini out there. And I think he was versing Mikey Musumeci in the Roosterweight finals. I think it was that year. But I got the perspective on how big jiu-jitsu was, and I won my blue belt juvenile gi. Sorry, I got to sneeze. It was creeping up, but then it disappeared. Sorry.
I've been sneezing all day long. So.
I got something's in the air at the moment. I thought it was going to come. I woke up sneezing.
It's all right.
I think we're good. I think we skipped it.
It's all good. So what do you think? Yeah. How big do you think jiu-jitsu is at that point? Like you're 16. You said 16, right? You compete, and there's some success behind it, and you go to Worlds, arguably the biggest tournament there can be, right? So you walk in from a small stage into the semi-pros, essentially, right? So what is your perception between Australia and the big games?
There was definitely like a size difference. Like there was so many people there. The venue was ginormous. There was 12 mats out there. Like just the sheer size of things was really different. And I think I got really excited about how many people were excited to watch jiu-jitsu, because this was a passion that was mine, and I shared it with a lot of people in Australia. But, you know, outside of the people in Australia, nobody really knew about it. And then you go to a place like California, where it's actually quite a big sport and a lot of people know about it. And, you know, for instance, you go through customs and they're stamping your passport and they go, "Why are you here?" And they go, I train jiu-jitsu. And the person at customs goes, "Oh my God, I train jiu-jitsu," or "My kid trains jiu-jitsu." And, you know, people know about jiu-jitsu in California. People know about jiu-jitsu in America. And I think that to me was really exciting, just seeing how many people were also obsessed about this sport and wanting to compete in this sport and training for this sport. And that to me, I was just in awe of that, because I didn't realize like how many other people were passionate about it. But then I look back on that and I kind of go, well, it was still quite small at that stage, and it's gotten so significantly bigger in the past 10, 15 years. It's just like exponentially grown. And now that just makes me really excited to see where jiu-jitsu is going to go, because it's grown in such a small time and it's only kind of continuing to grow, especially with all the other things that are going on that are bringing it to the mainstream. And I'm excited to see what happens in the near future.
So you win that blue belt Worlds. Is this the point in your life? You're 16. So, I mean, you're growing up young lady, right? You make your own decisions and you're kind of shaping your life. Is this the moment where you say, like, I'm going to do this for a living? Like, it's game on. Like, this is happening right now.
It definitely was the moment where I knew I wanted to be competing internationally, where I knew I wanted to consistently be traveling to America or wherever the major comps were, and do those major comps. It probably wasn't in that moment where I thought I could realistically do it as a career. I think that came a little bit further down the track, more towards the end side of my brown belt career, when I was just kind of entering like the very kind of last year of my brown belt, when COVID was just finishing or just opening up. I think that was the moment where I was like, I could do this as an actual career and not need to do it as a side quest or a side hustle. But that was when I was 16. That was the time where I was like, I love this. I want to continue doing this. I want to continue traveling. And then I started registering for more international competitions and just traveling a whole lot more.
Paint us a picture of how many people train in Australia at that time. You talk about US being so much bigger, that this is a wow factor for you. You step into that arena, I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of people here. How big or small is Jiu-Jitsu at that time back home? And even deeper, how many women or girls train Jiu-Jitsu at that time?
So Jiu-Jitsu was quite small. I think in Melbourne there were, and I'm probably going to get this wrong and leave out certain gyms, but I think there was no more than like 5 gyms, maybe less, quite scattered out. There weren't many black belts walking around. Definitely weren't any black belt females. It was like when I first started, it was a very, very small community. There were not many people doing it. There were 2 generations. There was my coach's coach and my coach, and that was it. They were the 2 generations that were there. And my coach, you know, was not a fresh black belt, but you know, he wasn't as deep into his black belt career as some of the other guys that you see. And there definitely weren't many girls. There were, like I said at the start, in the girls class, in the kids class, sorry, there was just no other girls. And the girls that would come in, they would come in for a few weeks and then they would just disappear again. And then a new girl would come in for a few weeks and then they would disappear as well. So there was not depth yet. And slowly over time, you know, new people started coming in and getting obsessed and then competing. And that's when, you know, I got the opportunity to meet some of the girls that were also doing it when no other girl was. You know, the people like Liv Giles, who, you know, was doing jiu-jitsu at a stage where she was really, you know, the main person, the main female out of Australia, and she was really leading the charge in representing female jiu-jitsu on a world stage. And I am very lucky that I had somebody before me. I'm very lucky that I had a role model to look up to, because I can't think off the top of my head who she had in that capacity who was before her. I think she was really leading the charge in that way.
Well, and that's why I'm asking you this, because it has to be difficult to have a small jiu-jitsu population to train. But on the top of this, you are the only female, or one of a handful. Like, many would give up. Many would say, this just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Why am I doing this? Why did you continue? Like, why are you so stubborn on continuing this in such a way? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, but I think you hit the nail on the head. It's stubbornness, right? It's either competitiveness or it's stubbornness, or, you know, one of those kind of things where it's just I was fixated on, I didn't care that I was the only girl. I wanted to beat up all the boys. I just wanted to be the best, like male, female, didn't care. I wanted to be able to beat everybody, and that was that was what was motivating me. That was what kept me interested in it. And, you know, I did at the time, especially through my blue belt phase, when I was just wanting to really assert dominance on everybody. I loved it when, you know, white belt guys would come in the gym and then, you know, they'd watch the UFC on the weekend and they're like, I can do that. And then my coach would be like, you know, they're talking a little bit of smack. Can you go like humble them? Can you go fix them? I'm like, yeah, I got it. And these white belt guys were coming in, you know, who thought they were the best thing in the world, were getting bashed up by, you know, a 16-year-old, 5'3", 55-kilo female. And it was very satisfying for me.
Oh, I bet it was. Do you have one of those stories in your mind? Like, is there one specific one that it really sticks out where it was like, oh, that was good?
I remember a guy came in once and he'd watched the UFC, but I think he'd watched a little bit of jiu-jitsu and like done some research on YouTube and been watching videos. And he came in as a white belt trying to heel hook people. And this is when heel hooks weren't a thing. And it was in a gi class, and he was coming in trying to heel hook people. And my coach was just like, can you go sort him out? Like, can you go show him what jiu-jitsu is and show him, like, you know, what we do here? And I just remember taking his back and just like holding on to him. And just like, he was so frustrated and so annoyed. And it was just like, take his back, choke him, take his back, choke him, take his back, choke him, over and over and over again. And that was definitely really satisfying. I've had a few guys where I've choked them out just because they've been stubborn enough not to tap as well. I think that sometimes the ego just gets the better of them, and, you know, I've got a cross collar choke and I'm playing close guard and they just go limp, and I'm like, yeah, happened again.
You are an evil human being. I'm just saying.
A little bit. I think you got to be a little bit sadistic to do jiu-jitsu as a career.
I agree. You
got to have a couple of screws loose, man.
I agree. After 24 years on the mat, is like, you got to be a little weird. You got. This has to be something in there not right in order for all of us to continue this.
100%, absolutely, for sure. A couple of screws loose.
Yeah. So you go through these ranks. Oh, first of all, I almost forgot to ask you. So going back to the blue belt world championships, you win that. Your mom is there with you. Yeah. What are her thoughts? What are her thoughts? Like, is she proud? Is she proud? Is she are there emotions involved? Like, I mean, this is big. You flying across the globe. I mean, you're literally going to the opposite side of the planet to compete, and it goes well. Yeah, it did. I had a really good training camp for that, but my mum was there. She's been there since day one. She drove me to all my local competitions, and, you know, was very encouraging of me when I decided that I wanted to do jiu-jitsu, when I wanted to train. Like, I was very, very lucky. Both of my parents were in full support of whatever I wanted to do, and if I said I wanted to do this sport, they would make it happen. So I was in a very privileged situation with that. And then my mum would be coming to competitions having no idea what was going on. I was playing guard, you know, sometimes in these competitions playing guard, and my mum would be yelling out, get on top, get up. And I'm like, no, mum, like, I want to be here. Guard is a good position in jiu-jitsu, like trying to explain that. But she was there for the journey. She was very excited for me. But yeah, there were definitely emotions. I think there were a few tears of just happiness. There was, you know, a lot of excitement. I think that she really enjoyed her time and really has always been supportive and loves coming with me on my journey. I bet she's proud, and I bet there is a lot of. It seems like that journey was very, very long and fruitful for both of you guys. So good for you. Good for you. That support is critical for all of us. So you go through this.
100%.
You go through this, and you get to that brown belt. And, you know, success continues creeping up. He's doing very well, and the thoughts of doing this for a living start surfacing. What are you thinking? Like, how are you going to do this?
It was a lot of emotions through my brown belt. I think my brown belt had the biggest ups and downs. Like, through all my belts, my brown belt was a massive roller coaster for me. Obviously, like, COVID happened, so that in itself was very impactful through my brown belt career. But at the early stages of my brown belt career, I did lose a lot of enjoyment for competition. I did lose a lot of enjoyment for training and all that kind of stuff. I was struggling to find motivation. I was not having a good time. I was not wanting to do it. I think I was training so hard and not taking time to actually enjoy it. I was just solely thinking about winning exchanges, and, like, I was solely focused on winning competitions, and that would make it really difficult if I didn't get the results I wanted, or if I didn't have the training camp I wanted, or if I got injured and was dealing with, like, little niggly injuries. Things like that were just so, like, soul-crushingly difficult because I was almost too intense, and that made competition very, very stressful for me. I'd done some really, really hard training camps where I'd absolutely battered and bruised my body and pushed it to the absolute limits, and then gotten out there and just been so exhausted. And that put a lot of stress on me. And then when I stepped out of the mats, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be competing. I was hoping that I was losing the first round so that I didn't need to do the next round, kind of thing. And I was just like fairly disappointed in the whole process of it.
Are you thinking about quitting?
Absolutely. Yeah. At that stage, absolutely. I was thinking about stepping away from it and just doing it as a hobby, maybe, or just completely stepping away from it altogether. And then COVID happened, and it was a forced step back from everything, where I wasn't allowed to compete. Like in Australia, especially, COVID locked things down pretty harshly. Like you weren't allowed to leave your house, you weren't allowed to travel state to state, and you definitely weren't allowed to travel internationally. And it just gave me kind of perspective on things, where I all of a sudden was training when I could, very sporadically, but not necessarily for a particular purpose other than moving around, having a little bit of fun and learning new skills. And that gave me a new perspective on my training and a new perspective on jiu-jitsu in general, which was just this fun and creative kind of pathway of jiu-jitsu. So I was learning new skills and just having fun on the mats and not getting too caught up in winning exchanges. You know, I was comfortable losing things and comfortable getting in shitty positions. And that re-sparked my love of jiu-jitsu in general. And then on the outside, like as COVID was just finishing, we had our ADCC trials for 2022 in Sydney. And I did a training camp in the lead up for that. And that training camp was quite an enjoyable training camp, where we were training really hard, but I was still having fun and still skill developing and still experimenting with movement and things like that. And then by the time I got to ADCC trials, I was just excited. Like that was the most excited I'd ever been to compete. And it was just, for me, a massive shift in mentality of taking a moment to just soak it all up and appreciate what I'm able to do. I appreciate the fact that I get to travel around the world with a lot of people that I love and admire, and get to do what I absolutely adore. And who else gets to do that? Like, who else gets to travel and do what they love with the people they love?
Have you ever thought about what would happen if COVID never happened? Would you come back from that, or would that lead into the end?
I don't know. I think there were so many hard things about COVID, but for me, there were so many good things that came from COVID. Like I met my partner through COVID, and probably would not have met her if COVID didn't happen. I changed my perspective of competition, and probably wouldn't have. I moved states at the time. I'm in Melbourne and born and bred in Melbourne. And I moved to Perth through COVID and had some really good experiences moving to Perth. And that probably wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. So there were a lot of changes that happened in my life as a result of COVID. So part of me, COVID was really difficult, but also I'm grateful for the opportunities that COVID gave me.
Yeah, and I think this is the beautiful part behind this sad story of this pandemic, that nobody liked being at that point, but even myself, I found things that were very positive coming out of that difficult time. Like, oftentimes is how we look at situations, not necessarily what the situation is. What's our perspective? How are we looking at this? How are we turning this around? So I'm glad that this worked out well. And obviously it worked out very well. So, there's a lot of positive that came out of all this, right?
100%. I think that, it was really difficult when we were in it, but now on the back end of things, I think that there were some positive things to look at.
So you go through this career, you go through this journey, and good things are happening as a brown belt. Not so good things are happening in a brown belt. You come around mentally and you look at this life as positive now, and you like jiu-jitsu again. Is this the moment where you're saying, I'm going to chase this?
Yeah, I think at the later stages of my brown belt career, I think when I had won trials and proved to myself that I could do it, and prove that the hard work and dedication that I put towards that training camp paid off. And I was also enjoying myself while I was doing it. I think like after that win, that was when I decided that I'd put everything into it. I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my partner, and we just kind of were talking back and forth about how realistic pursuing a career in jiu-jitsu was, and that I was kind of hedging my bets in some ways where I wasn't quite committing, but there was potential for me to commit, and just to see where that took me. And we sat down and we're like, let's just go everything into it. Let's just train, let's prioritize training over like coaching and making money. Let's prioritize traveling over staying at home. Let's prioritize competitions over anything. And that's exactly what we did. And it paid off. Like the time and dedication and sacrifice that I put into those decisions paid off in the end.
A lot of people dream about making those decisions. A lot of people dream about training versus teaching, or traveling versus being at home. You are making those decisions.
Yeah.
That can't be easy. Those has to be difficult and hard choices. What are you sacrificing on the other side of all of this?
Well, it's definitely scary, because there's no guarantee in any professional athlete career. There's just no guarantee. I could get injured tomorrow, and that kind of takes me out. And that was really scary. Like it was scary to not have any certainties in the future. I think that I wanted to do it as long as I was motivated and happy to do it. I think that was the major thing for me. So when I decided to do it, I was just going to put absolutely everything into it. I was going to put every bit of time that I had into it to give myself the best chance that I possibly could. I definitely had self-belief that I was capable to do it. But there's one thing having self-belief. There's another thing waking up every morning, going to training when you don't want to go to training, eating the food that you don't want to be eating, taking the supplements, like all that kind of stuff. It's just like that's a whole other ball game. But I had a lot of support around me. I had a lot of people that believed in me more than I believed in myself, and kept me motivated when I wasn't motivated. And thanks to those people, I'm where I am today. But it was definitely very, very scary at the start.
Was that support network and everybody around you important to you, in a sense of, without them, this would be much more difficult?
I think that without them, it would just be impossible. Like I give a lot of credit to the guys around me. My kind of first coach and still my coach and who gave me my black belt, David Hart, he from a very young age was telling me that I could do jiu-jitsu as a career, and I didn't think much of it when I was younger, but now looking back at that, like he kind of instilled that initial self-belief. My parents were really supportive, even though they both worked corporate jobs and didn't have athletic careers themselves. They were very supportive and wanted me to pursue something that I enjoyed. My partner, who started off pursuing an athletic career, she was a very good tennis player, but decided to go down the academic route because she was also very smart. She motivated me and made me believe that I could do it. And I think just from all the people around me, there's so many people that I'm definitely missing, but just from them believing in me, my coach from Perth, Jake O'Driscoll, who was a massive part of this training camp and a massive part in helping me believe that I could attain these ADCC goals. I could not do it without those guys. I give a lot of credit to those guys, that's for sure.
It is mind-blowing. You mentioned name after name after name and after name, and many, I think,
it's endless.
I know, isn't it? But many spectators, think about this.
But
Millions of people.
I could sit here all day. I could sit here all day listing people. I could sit here all day listing the impact that people have had on my journey, because it takes a village. It really does take a village. There's so many people that are working so hard behind the scenes that just people you know, that follow me on social media or see my matches, they just don't see. They don't see what's going on behind the scenes.
And that's what I was about to
and,
say.
you know, it's a really key part of it.
That's what I was about to say, that, you know, a lot of people, millions, were watching your matches at the ADCC a few weeks ago, right? And clearly you're winning in a beautiful way, beautiful jiu-jitsu. But many of them sit there and say, oh, no, Adele's lucky. And, yeah, she had an opportunity to train. Maybe there's a lot of talent associated with that. I mean, you know that's true. I mean, a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes, right? What do you say to them? I'm like, what you know how much work it took to get there.
I think people will believe what they want to believe. You know, I'm sometimes the worst on myself. I read through comments on Instagram all day, and it's terrible. I shouldn't do it, but I do, just because I'm so interested in what people say. You know, and then I start getting mad at the comments, and I'm like, I just shouldn't be reading them. But you know, there was people in the comment section being like, oh, it was just a lucky win, you know, let's run it back and we'll see what happens. Those kind of comments. But I know in myself the time and energy and effort that I put into my training camp, how professional I was trying to be through that training camp, and everything that was kind of going on, even on and off the mat. So the lifting, the nutrition, the mental side of things, the tape study, all that kind of stuff. Like I know how much time I spent on doing that. I know how much time my team spent on doing that as well, and how much time and energy they put in. The people that know. Like and that's all that matters. The people that know what was going on, they know the time and energy that went into it. And if there's some random person on the internet that says it was lucky, then, you know, if they want to believe that, they can believe that. I don't really care too much.
Good for you.
But I know the time and energy that went into it.
Good for you. Many people care way too much what other people say, and you know, it takes a certain person to ignore a lot of that noise and garbage and really stick to the plan. So good for you. Good for you.
Sometimes I definitely, like, I catch myself wanting to comment back. I'm like, no, don't do that. That's exactly what they want. They want you to comment back. I'm like, no, don't do it. I definitely fight that urge, though, that's for sure.
Yeah. So listen, let's talk about your final at the ADCC. We briefly touched on it at the beginning, but I think one of the more beautiful things about it is the simplicity of what took place with that submission. Many ignore simple things like the simple overhook, control of the hips, posture control. And I mean, I've rewatched that clip, like, I don't know, hundreds of times, how simple all of this is. Many students, I mean, many, if not most, focus on complex transitions and complex things. And you are able to pull this off in such a simple way. How do you do this at that level of competition and simply play the simple jiu-jitsu? Or maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Maybe this is not simple. Maybe this is complex.
There's I think fundamentals are really important, like the understanding of, you know, how to maintain positions and, you know, how to utilize your body in the best possible way. So leverage points and things like that, how to create, you know, the best kind of pressure using the minimal amount of force and the minimal amount of strength. Basic concepts like that you can copy and paste through different positions, that you can copy and paste and use, just to make you well-rounded and you know, energy efficient in the jiu-jitsu you're doing. I think that's really important. But some people just gloss over that kind of stuff. You know, some people just get excited about doing berimbolos and back takes and backflip passes, and people like to do flashy things. You know, people like to do things that look really cool. But sometimes it is simplicity. It is, you know, if somebody's in a closed guard, get an overhook. Just overwrap their arm and hold on to it, because you're isolating an arm. Like, it's a basic concept of, if you isolate arms, both arms become weaker. You have much better ability to control the body. You have much better ability to control the center line of the body. But it just starts with just overhook. Just hold an overhook and start to play that kind of game and develop a game around that. But yeah, there's some complex elements to it. Like, I could sit here for hours talking about the very nuanced details of okay, how do you actually load the elbow in a meter lock, and how do you create the braking mechanics, and where is the shoulder pressure to actually maintain the overhook, but also there's just simplicity to it. Overhook it, hold it tight.
I gotta ask you, were you surprised that this actually worked in the sense of that you were able to finish this? I watched that fight, and Bianca, I felt like Bianca even was surprised that this worked. Like there was a little smirk on her face, and I like I can't believe this happened. So I'm curious what went through your mind. Was there an element of surprise that this actually ended the match, or?
Yes and no. Like I when I had the overhook, I could feel where the elbow line was. I knew that I could create like a lot of pressure from it. I knew that I could create braking force. So like there's one thing being able to create pain through someone. There's another thing being able to actually break the thing you're trying to break. And when you're at that kind of level with those kind of girls, you need to have braking mechanics, because like we've seen it time and time again with people having their elbows snapped and they just keep fighting, or their ACLs tear and they just keep fighting. Like we've seen that before. So I knew that I was going to need to be able to create braking pressure where it's either she taps because of the pain, which is very unlikely, or I can actually either dislocate the shoulder or break the elbow or tear the bicep, like things like that. And when I had the overhook, I'm like, I can cause damage here. It's just whether or not like it's going to be enough damage that she taps, or if she's going to let like her entire arm explode.
Wow, that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, I'm pretty confident that match is gonna go down in history as one of the most, fascinating finishes ever. Let's pivot here a little bit. You start as 10-year-old girl who doesn't know what jiu-jitsu is. You have a lot of people motivating you throughout the years of training up to even the recent times. Have you ever thought about how many 10-year-old girls you have motivated over a decade time that you've been on the mat, and especially this weekend or this couple weekends ago with your performance at ADCC?
I think that's like that to me is a really impactful thing. When I was at ADCC and kind of walking around the stands afterwards, there were so many little girls and little boys that would come up to me and want to have a chat and want to take photos and, talk to me about their competition experience, where they'd be like, oh, I competed 2 days ago and I did this and I did, and they were so excited to tell me about their competition experience. And that to me, I got so much joy out of that. The idea of like me being able to be some kind of role model to these girls was really important to me. Because I knew how impactful the role models in my life were and how motivating the role models in my life were to me. And if I can make some of these girls, believe that they have the ability to do what I'm doing and get out there and compete and enjoy a sport that we both love, like that to me, I can retire happy. I can, finish my jiu-jitsu career very happy if I can make an impact like that.
You're talking about retiring happy, and at the end of all of this, you are only 24. Are you saying that you are retiring?
Oh, God, no. I want to have a very long and prosperous career, retiring very, very far down the track. I'm going to be one of those people where, I'm still hobbling onto the mat and people are telling me like I shouldn't be competing, and people like carrying me off the stage. I love competing, and I want to continue doing it as long as my body will let me, and as long as I enjoy it. I think that they're the two major things for me.
Have you ever thought about reflected at the end of the day and kind of thinking about your life and all of this, is if you didn't step on the mat that very first day, or maybe I'll ask differently, if your Google search didn't point you to Jiu-Jitsu Academy, but pointed you to karate or taekwondo, like, have you ever thought about what your life would look like today?
Absolutely. Like it definitely comes to mind because the stars aligned. It was sheer luck that I did jiu-jitsu and sheer luck that I ended up in the gym that I did. And if I didn't, I would be in a very different spot in my life. I would be, doing very, very different things. And, I hope that even if I was doing different things, I would still take the pathway of being happy and doing things that I enjoy. But I'm very grateful that everything worked out the way that it did. And I walked into a jiu-jitsu gym, and the coach that was there was such an incredible kids coach and really nurtured that and kept me interested. And I'm very grateful for all of that.
Well, you are definitely changing the path of Jiu-Jitsu itself, but I think more importantly, you're changing the path how female Jiu-Jitsu is being viewed. And over the last decade or so, we talk about this on the show quite a bit, but over the last decade or so, female Jiu-Jitsu has grown substantially, but it's still not as big as male Jiu-Jitsu. Like, Jiu-Jitsu is still a male-dominated sport, and that presence of female is so important to grow that division, to allow these girls and women to really engage in some of this. And it's hard. I mean, I guess I should ask you. I don't know if it's hard for women to train jiu-jitsu. I have no clue. But it has to be difficult to be in a room full of men where you are outweighed by, almost every single time, when the physical struggles, which convert into mental struggles, right? I mean, this can be easy.
100%. Like, there's different things that are difficult about it. So you get the difficulties being somebody that is just stepping onto the mats, being a fresh white belt female that is just stepping onto the mats, and how daunting that is, as well as like how much jiu-jitsu goes against everything that your every bit of like survival instincts that you have, especially as a female, go against being put in these positions. And sometimes that does cause a lot of distress when you're just getting used to having somebody so close to you or on top of you or pinning you down so you can't move is terrifying. Like, it is really, really scary, especially as a female. So getting past that is its own hurdle and its own achievement, to kind of push past that natural instinct of just wanting to not put yourself in these uncomfortable situations. It does take time, and it does take as well a supportive environment. And I think having females on the mat that these new fresh white belt females can look up to and seek advice from is really important. So having a culture in a gym space that allows for females to feel safe and females to feel heard is really important. I think it is a very positive thing for new members, but also building that community between female jiu-jitsu practitioners is a very positive thing. But then on the flip side, for me, there is unfortunate inherent sexism that comes in the sport. It's sad, but it's true. And there's we continue to kind of fight to be heard, and we continue to fight to be recognized. I think even unbiasedly, females have some of the most technical jiu-jitsu and some of the most interesting matches in the world. I think that because we're smaller, we're quite technical, but we still struggle to get teaching jobs. We still struggle to, people have that like innate sexism where they don't want to ask us questions because they're bigger and stronger, so they can probably do it better. Or, have a black belt 2-time world champion versus, a local purple belt, and they're going to ask the local purple belt the question because they're a guy and they're strong and they're big and that kind of stuff. I don't think most people recognize it. I don't think most people catch themselves out on it, but it's definitely a noticeable thing, and females will notice it because like we can see what's going on, and we're used to seeing that kind of stuff, and it's hopefully going to be moving in the right direction. Hopefully the females in the sport start getting the recognition that they deserve.
And I have to agree with you 100%. I think when you watch one comparison between men and females, and I know guys are going to hate me for saying this, I do believe females are more technical. Guys, we are meatheads. We just want to smash. We want to be physical, and there is a certain appeal behind it. Like I mean, that's being physical with jiu-jitsu is part of this, right? I mean, being strong is part of this. Like, we can't ignore that fact.
Yeah.
But because you are so much smaller than majority of population on your mat, you have to find small spaces. You have to find leverage. the balance is in your favor. Like, you have to find these things, otherwise it's not going to work. And I think that's what makes you as females so much more technical than guys. And I know probably I lost all the guys who are listening to this, but
I was going to say, you're going to lose a lot of listeners.
But I think that's part of this. Now, here's the question for you. A lot of females, I don't know if a lot, but there are some females out there who are huge. They vote in a huge favor of women training with women only. And there's the other group who says, well, listen, we have to train with men because this is really what pushes us to work those advantages that we have and really fight the strengths. Where are you in that conversation? Would you ever advise anybody to train with women only and you don't want to deal with the male population, or is the mixed environment, the co-ed environment, more beneficial for you?
Yeah, let's just completely cull the male population in general. Like, why stop at no, I'm totally kidding. I think that females
I was
and males
about to say it. Now we're going to be controversial.
I'm just gonna pull the audience in.
Yeah.
No. I think it's silly to just be picking roles because they're females. I think it's a size thing. I think when we talk about females being very technical, yes, they are on average quite technical, but I also think that kind of is the umbrella term for smaller people in general. You see people like Mikey Musumeci, who was a rooster weight, and quite small. He's very technical. You see Pato, small, technical, or the 66ers at ADCC, different style of jiu-jitsu to what the plus 99s are doing. I think that it's more so a size thing more than it is a gender thing. I definitely think that there is obviously a strength difference between males and females. So a 60-kilo male versus a 60-kilo female, the 60-kilo male is going to be stronger. Genetically, they're going to be stronger. They have that advantage, but it's a good, it's a competitive round. It's a competitive role, and it comes with its own kind of different problem-solving things that I think is a missed opportunity if you're avoiding that role just because they're a guy. I think that it's very important for everybody to be rolling with everybody, and I think it's also important for the guys to learn how to roll with the girls. That there is a fine balance between rolling too soft because you're like, oh, I don't want to hurt the girl, and rolling the white belt females too hard because you just don't want to lose to a girl. There's a balance, and I think that balance needs to be found, and the only way for that balance to be found is to make sure that the guys and girls are rolling together. I'm not suggesting that a 50-kilo female should be walking on the mat looking for a 120-kilo guy, though. I don't think that that's the smartest thing to do.
Some 120-kilo guys need to be put in place. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I definitely, when I was a blue belt, that was the person I was picking. I was picking a 120-kilo guy, and that was what I wanted to do. But
that's why I made that comment. Yeah. If you were to envision this ideal world of jiu-jitsu, perhaps a decade from now, or maybe, I don't know, you are 55 and world is going a very different direction. How would you envision this co-ed environment to be healthy, to be profiting everybody and really growing that jiu-jitsu community in the best way that it can be? I feel like it's still divided and we are a bit away from making it even. I mean, I don't know, should it be even? Maybe it shouldn't be even. Maybe we are where we need to be. What's your perspective on this?
Oh, my perspective is definitely the female athletes that are putting in the same amount of work as the male athletes need to be recognized. But I'm also very well aware that it is an audience-based thing. So the males are drawing in a bigger audience because more males are in the sport. So, it becomes the battle of, well, you're worth what you pull in. And I can understand that, especially from a fight promoter's perspective. I can understand that. But we need to, the more we elevate female jiu-jitsu, the bigger it's going to get. The more females we bring into the sport, the more female audience we get, the bigger these athletes can get. So we definitely want to do things that work towards equalizing, pay, equalizing how many females are on fight cards, things like that. And the more we advocate for that, the more we're going to start to hopefully see a difference kind of in the actual local gyms, for instance. You know, if there's more females fighting on mainstream, more females can be motivated to actually get on the mats themselves. We increase the female population of practitioners, and that's just going to be an amazing feedback loop.
Seems like you have a plan.
World domination. World domination is always the plan.
Is that what it is?
Just like
Listen,
just building the sport. I think
I'm noticing a pattern here. Adele. You were 10 years old. You wanted to be a badass cop, and you want to put all the guys in jail. Now you want to do world domination. Look at. Do you see that? Do you see that?
Yep. I told you, you have to do jiu-jitsu, you have to have a couple of screws loose. That's just how it is. You have to be a little bit crazy. And I'm definitely a little bit crazy, that's for sure.
Listen, this is a true story. A few weeks back, one of my students, a newer student, is asking me, is like, we had a conversation and we just talking, and the question came up, you know, how long you've been doing this? And I said, well, you know, a couple decades. And we kind of leeching, and he's like, why are you still doing this? Why you didn't quit? And my answer is pretty simple every single time. I was just too stupid to quit. I was just too stubborn and too stupid to quit. And I just stuck around. But that's something that you talk about right now, right? We got to have a little bit loose in there. Like, it has to be. Otherwise, every logical person 100%. Would say, screw this nonsense. This is stupid. I mean, would you agree?
Dude, jiu-jitsu just doesn't make sense. Like,
no, it doesn't.
I'm gonna sneeze again.
There it is. Bless you.
Jiu-jitsu makes no sense. Thank you. Jiu-jitsu makes zero sense. You're putting yourself in a room full of people that are trying to snap your shit, and you're paying to do that. You're paying
I know.
to be in a room where people are trying to literally injure you. Like, it makes zero sense.
Yep.
But, you know, we're obsessed about it. We love it. We love what we do, and we wake up every morning and we're excited to go to training, and we're tying our belts and putting our gears on, and we're ready to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, oftentimes when I talk to people on the show or elsewhere, we come to this conclusion. There is really no other sport like jiu-jitsu. You don't see this engagement in any other. And I could be biased. I am biased. And I could be. I am biased because this is what I do. Right? Like, you don't see this in CrossFit or running or swimming or soccer or whatever other sport you do. You don't see this bond that we create. We beat the crap out of each other. Then we high-fiving. We paying for all of this, and we coming back for more.
100%. It's the whole thing of it is crazy. I think we put so much trust into our training partners, and I think that's a really key kind of element of it. Like, we almost don't understand how much trust we put in our training partners. Mm-hmm. We trust that when we tap, they're going to stop doing the thing that we don't like. If they're on our backs and they're choking us, we're relying on the fact that when we tap, this person's going to make an active decision to let go and not kill us. Mm-hmm. And that's an insane concept. That's a crazy thing. And we build this bond with these people because we have so much trust in them. We build this community of people that are like-minded that we can all trust. And that's kind of where the insanity of jiu-jitsu is.
I agree. Adele, many would consider that you've done everything that can be done. Many want to win one gold medal. Some looking for fame. Others want to be a black belt. Some chase ADCC trials. Less of those guys want to really win ADCC. You not only win your own division, you win the open division in a spectacular way. Are you done? Like, what else is there to be done? Like, I mean, many would say there is nothing more. You're done. You can pack up your bags. You can be done. What else are you looking to do?
For me, I'm at the beginning. Like, I truly believe that I'm only at the beginning. I want everything. Like, I joke around about world domination, but it's not far off that. I want to win multiple ADCC world titles. I think that IBJJF gi world title has a special spot in my heart, and I want to win that, and I'm going to work hard towards winning that. But I want to have a long and prosperous career where I just am enjoying competition and wanting to show how amazing Australian jiu-jitsu is, how incredible female jiu-jitsu is, and how it's evolving over time. And I want to continue to do that for as long as I possibly can. Like I'm only in the second year, just nicked over to the second year of my black belt career.
No kidding.
So I'm just at the beginning of it. Yeah.
I know. Second year, and yeah, and this, yeah. No, listen, good for you. Good for you. I mean, there is a moment of pride. There is a moment of being happy. And I think this is amazing. What you are doing is amazing. This only is a beginning as far as your career, and then everybody you will impact in the future. So this is a beautiful thing. Listen, we've been at this for over an hour at this point. But what I do at the end of every episode, I have a question for you from our previous guest.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't know who's going to answer that. He had no idea who's going to answer the question. So he think about a question in blind, completely question in blind. And the question comes from Stefan Castling. He's one of the big personality influencers online on internet as far as instructionals are concerned. And he asked, what is the biggest aha moment for you in your jiu-jitsu? What was your biggest aha moment in jiu-jitsu?
My biggest aha moment was enjoyment. Like just enjoy it. Like just force yourself to smile, force yourself to have a good time. Like have fun with it. It doesn't need to be soul crushing. It doesn't need to be serious all the time. It can just be fun. And that to me was my biggest aha moment. That's what pulled me back to enjoying what I was doing. I think I advocate for, like, you're here for a short time. Make sure you're doing things in your life that you enjoy. Don't do it if you're not enjoying it. It just doesn't make sense.
Good for you. I wish more people thought about it that way. I think a lot of people are chasing the shiny object in front of them, and they don't think about their own happiness. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah,
Adele.
If you focus on the enjoyment and the process, the things will come.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Adele, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I'm a big fan, especially after last week, a couple weekends ago. I mean, I think you've made a huge impact on many out there, especially the ladies who, sometimes need inspiration. Sometimes they need a leader, and you definitely put yourself in that position. With your current results and your career that you have ahead of you. So I'll be sitting on the sidelines watching you competing all over everywhere, and including IBJJF, since I know that's one of your big goals. So good for you. Thanks for hanging out with us. But before you go, if anybody wants to connect with you, where they can find you, where are you available? Website, social media? I mean, let us know.
Websites in the making, but mainly just through my socials. So Instagram is the main one for me. So if you follow me on Adele Fornarino on Instagram, if you want to reach out to me through that's the way to get me. If you want to book me for seminars, there's links in my bio there. But that's probably the best way to keep track of all the crazy things that's going on in my life and what I'm doing, or any instructionals that are getting released will all be announced on my socials, on my Instagram.
Sweet. And I'll make sure that everything is put in the notes of this episode. So if you guys want to connect with Adele directly, feel free to do that. Make sure you follow her and make sure that you get some of the instructions, and the website is coming soon. So all the information. And then, Adele, again, thank you for being here. What an inspiring story. What an inspiring
Thank
journey.
you so much for having me.
It was great chatting with you today.
It was amazing chatting with you too. Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Let's wrap it up for today.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.